It's All Things Considered, and I'm Dave Lawrence. Last weekend, legendary musician Leon Russell passed away. He was 74 years old. We got a chance to speak with him here on All Things Considered ahead of a Hawaii tour for his last studio record, Life Journey, back in 2014. Complete interview is posted online, but here's a little chunk of it now, along with some music in tribute to Leon. We start with him explaining how familiar he was or wasn't with some of the covers on the album. It's Leon Russell.
A lot of them I didn't know. The Billy Joel one, I didn't know that very well. I had to kind of learn that. And one of the Duke Ellington songs, I didn't know very well.
Georgia on My Mind?
Yeah, I used to do that on my show before I did this album. That was my dad's favorite song, and one of mine, actually, too.
Sounds like it was a sort of experience of getting to see where some of your earliest inspirations may have come from.
I joined the Columbia Record Club and for some reason got in the jazz category, which I'm not really a jazz person at all, but Benny Goodman, J.J. Johnson, and Kay Winding, and Miles Davis, and a bunch of records. You get about 6 free when you join that club.
Right.
And there was a place called the Momar Club in Tulsa that was a jazz club. They had jam sessions on a Friday and Saturday that started about midnight and went to about 10 in the morning. And I learned a lot listening to those guys.
You weren't soliciting the material, but this variety that just came automatically actually ended up playing a role in shaping your musical vocabulary.
Yeah, I think so. I really had not been crazy about jazz. I wouldn't let my kids say the word because jazz seemed like the spontaneity of creating a melody at the expense of time and many other things really bugged the shit out of me. I didn't like that.
Well, there are just some people, jazz is a dirty word.
Yeah, I was one of them.
Do you keep in touch with Elton since doing that project?
Well, not really. I mean, Elton is not really an in-touch guy. He called me up, and I was watching a soap opera, and I hadn't spoken to him in 35 years.
Wow.
He said that we should do an album together, and he actually was on safari in Africa, and he got to thinking about me and got very emotional and thought that he had not kept in contact enough.
Any memories of that collaboration that just stick out as we talk about it?
I called up Johnny Barbas, who was my manager at the time. I was also Elton's manager, and told him that I wanted to do it. And he said, well, Elton wants you to have a producer. Well, I'm not a guy that has producers. I've worked for many of the biggest producers in the world, and I have to tell you, there's a lot of bullshitters in that category. And it's just a few that I can count on one hand that I thought really knew something. So I was getting ready to go over to Montrose, and I met Tommy over there. I'd, of course, known Tommy for 45 years.
Producer Tommy LaPuma, who did Life Journey and also did that recent McCartney Standards album.
And he cut one of my songs that launched George Benson's career. He cut Diana Krall, and he's just cut so many jazz artists. I was afraid there might be jazz damage there. I was really scared of it. When we started talking, I found out that he was a blues hound like myself. He knows all about it and where the bodies are buried, and it was great fun. He's the best producer I've ever worked with, and I'm happy to say that he did my album because I really worked with some stinkers before. It was kind of tough because this is about a 25-piece band, and the writer of the band used to play bass for Count Basie. I happened to mention when I was talking to Tom in the preliminaries that I was a big fan of Basie, and so next thing I knew, I had a Basie arranger and his bass player, and the guy that was playing drums that's his orchestra too. He played for Oscar Peterson. I had all these jazz giants in this band. I was really scared to death. I was really outclassed.
I like how you kind of come full circle with the Jazz Cats.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I was very proud to have that caliber of band.
Do you think that that's the kind of thing that made you in demand? You had this approach, you had a lot of different variety with the influences, so that when you hit the studio, you were sort of well-armed. I
was well-armed if they understood what I did. There's all kinds of ways to skin a chicken, I guess.
A big thank you to Leon Russell for being our guest today on Hawaii Public Radio. Thanks, Leon. Hope this wasn't a hassle.
No, I'd love to do this. Keeps me from having to have a real job. Thank you. Aloha, everyone. This is Leon Russell, and you're tuned to Dave Lawrence. It's All Things Considered on Hawaii Public Radio.